Hi, my name is Rhiannon and I am a traditional folk witch and pagan, and today I'd like to talk to you all about the elements. This is going to be the first video in an ongoing series on my channel where I teach you how to harness the elements into your witchcraft in order to manifest your desires. So this is the very first one, and we are going to be starting with the element of earth. So first off, what are the elements and where do they come from? The main elements that witches work with now are earth, air, fire, and water, and some traditions sometimes use spirit as well, but the main four were those first four that I listed. They were first defined by the Greek philosopher Empedocles around the 500th century BC. Back then, they weren't really focused on the energies as much as we are. Back then, it was all about all matter was made up of these four elements in some combination of them. The ancient Greeks actually believed that all matter was made up of some form of these four elements. And over time, like everything does, things change and are influenced by other practitioners and people throughout the ages, and now we are mainly focused on the energies. So the elements are more of like a categorization of to explain what element that item is more corresponded to. For example, a feather would be more corresponded to air than a rock would be, and a rock would be more corresponded to earth than a feather would be. Although you can find all these items on earth, there's just some items that are more like certain elements naturally than others are. And elements are now used to categorize a specific energy. With the combination of the belief system of animism, those two things combined help bring forth the theory of correspondences. So earth is a feminine and passive and receptive energy. It both gives and takes away. It stabilizes us, but also allows us to move forward. A lot of people focus on the fact that earth energy really helps to ground you. And while that is very true, there is a whole lot more that earth energy can do for you that I bet you aren't already using in your practice yet. Some of the energies that also correspond to it are health, fertility, stability, inner strength, nurturing and abundance, money, success, and earthly possessions. The cardinal direction for earth is north, and its season is winter. The time of day is midnight, and the days of the week for this element are Thursday and Saturday. Now for some of the color correspondences. So I believe I work within a spectrum. So if there's a color, I work within all the shades of that color, depending on the type of working that I'm working for within that energy. So some of the colors that work within this element are brown, black, grays, and greens, in almost any and all of the shades. These colors are really great to work with in candle magic and are a really great form of sympathetic magic to add to your practice. Astrological signs that are associated with earth element are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Now, a question I get a lot is when they're working with the elements is people ask, do I have to be a specific zodiac sign to be able to work within that element? For example, do I have to be a Taurus to work in the earth element? And the answer is no. You can work within any of these elements at any time. Although some people who are within that specific element spectrum, for example, Gemini and air, may be able to work with air a lot easier than somebody who doesn't have a lot of air in their chart. However, you can still work within those energies to bring about what you'd like. You just might have to find different ways to connect with it and find what works for you. So you can work with the zodiac in two different ways with any of the elements. So you can work with it with the sun sign. The sun spends about a month and a little bit within that specific zodiac sign. So you can work within that chunk of time to bring about your manifestations that you'd like to bring. Or you can work within the moon sign. So the moon is actually in a very specific zodiac sign for about 3 and a bit days. So the moon is actually within each zodiac for about 3 to 4 days. So you're able to work within each astrological sign within those smaller amounts of time as well. So you don't have to wait an entire month to be able to work with a specific sign. Sometimes if you're able to see what sign the moon is going to be in next within the next few days, you may be able to do your workings a little bit quicker. Some of the physical representations that can represent Earth are soils, salt, bones, stones, and plants, and the pentacle. Now, one of my favorite subjects to talk about in any correspondence is the crystals. Now, well, you can argue basically anything from the earth can be argued an earth element correspondence. There are some items that are a little bit more in line with the earth element than others. So, and that works with crystals as well. Very specifically, the ones that have a very heavy weight and texture are really good for earth element. So things like hematite is a very heavy mineral that could be very grounding. So a quick tip is you could carry hematite around with you in your pocket to help ground you throughout the day. Other crystals are things like moss agate or any agate really. Malachite, bloodstone, and quartz are all really good crystals, as well as another tip is quartz is like a master stone and is able to be programmed very easily to work for almost any energy. Although in my opinion, personally, I like to have a very specific crystal for each working, but if you can only afford to buy one quartz crystal for a while, that would be the first crystal I would grab because you can reprogram them to have very similar energies to different types of crystals. The corresponding metals are iron and brass, and the herbs are, of course, you can say again, any and all herbs, but like I said, these are the ones that are more in line with earth element. So things like roots are very much earth-based because they are actually grown and submerged deep within the earth itself. Trees of all forms are a great correspondence for earth, and mushrooms. Many people wouldn't think that, but they actually do have a very deep connection to the earth. They actually have systemic branches throughout the entire earth, and they wrap all the way around the earth underneath the ground. It's actually quite fascinating. I think it's called bacilli. I'm not very sure. I'll correct myself here if I'm wrong, but they literally wrap around the entire earth. So very strong connection to earth energy. Things like patchouli, ivy, grain, rice, vetiver, sage, moss, and any lichen. Nuts and apples are also great. Cypress, fern, grasses, honeysuckle, mugwort, magnolia, oak moss, primrose, and vervain are all very correspond to that. Now let me just say here, these are all my correspondences and what I find works for me. But I find now that you have a general idea, it's better to understand kind of the element in itself and then be able to take your experiences and merge those two things together and create your own correspondences that make sense for you in your area and for your life and your life experience. Now, animal correspondences, anything that burrows. So moles, groundhogs are all burrowing animals, as well as, like for me in my area, we have a burrowing owl. So that's an example of even a bird that could, and also livestock, so cows, sheep, chickens, and ducks are all corresponding to earth, as well as insects, things like termites and ants and worms. And you also have dogs as well. Now, the elemental spirits of earth that correspond to this are the brownies, hobgoblins, trolls, gnomes, and leprechauns. Now that we've gone over some basic correspondences, I just kind of want to share with you some tips and tricks in rituals and activities that you can do to help connect with the earth element. These are just some simple ideas to kind of get the juices flowing. Work with different types of dirt. For example, dirt from a hospital could be used for healing, and dirt from a bank could be used for prosperity. So you can use those different types of dirt to bring about different types of change in your life. So you don't have to take the dirt with you, but you could always bury it in specific areas. And always make sure when you are burying things or taking anything, you're thanking and asking the land and acknowledging the land if you are on stolen land before you do so. And then also, if you are going to be burying anything in the earth, make sure it's not poisonous, it's not going to pollute the earth, that it's going to break down into the earth naturally. So I don't bury any candles or anything like that. Most often, if I do bury something, it's going to be paper with like a non-toxic ink on it, and like herbs. Different traditions have different ways and beliefs of burying things into the earth. Some traditions believe that if you bury something, you're discarding it, and some traditions believe you can bury things to carry on a working, to carry it forward. And I did that in my working when I attracted my partner that I have now. I actually buried a love jar into the soil of a plant at my family home. So as the plant continues to grow and flourish and change, so does my relationship. And it was also a form of sympathetic magic where I am bringing something into the earth, onto the earthly plane. So I'm carrying my petition from the ethers into the earth and bringing it down into my reality. That is a pro tip. Works really very quickly in my experience. So I definitely would give it a try. If you bury things in the front yard of a property, it is said to attract things towards you. And if you bury things in the backyard within your property, it is said to keep things near you or keep things around within your property. So it's going to keep it around you. And if you want to get rid of something completely, you can bury something into a graveyard to like have a death of it. Another idea is you can set up altars. So you can set up an altar to the earth, where you can have plants that you can take care of. You can either have an elemental altar where you have all of the elements represented, or you can have a altar just specific for one element in itself, so earth itself. So you can have maybe some dirt from your backyard, or you can have a plant on your altar, or several of them, where you tend them and let them grow. And you can have sticks and stones that you collect sitting on your altar. And I actually have one of those myself. I think I created it in a vlog very recently. I can link it up here, where I drew a power sigil onto a stone that I collected from a local river by my home. And I keep that on my altar as a charging stone. You can draw a sigil of the element earth, or you can draw the elements symbol. The earth symbol is this, and you can use it in petitions that you write, and you can bury them into the ground in different specific locations depending on your ritual, and they will degrade into the earth and therefore activating and bringing about your manifestation into reality. I use sigils everywhere. It's one of my more favorite forms of magic. I use sigils on candles around my home, all over the place. I have them currently drawn on me. It's kind of smudging. I use them and wear them all the time. You can cleanse with the element of earth. So instead of using a cleansing bundle, if you're not able to walk around your home and cleanse all areas of your home, you can actually have little bowls of salt throughout your home in every room of your home, and just discard of it every few days. So just let it sit out, and it will draw in the energies that are negative into the salt bowl. And then I would just dilute the salt in the sink and pour it down the drain. I would never just throw it out into the earth or into the yard, because animals can discover it and they will just continue to lick the salt, and they won't know to stop until it's too late. So you don't really want to dispose of it, plus it can destroy the earth and it's not good for the earth. So definitely don't throw it out willy-nilly, but definitely just dilute it and dispose of it properly, so that the water will be just recycled and cleansed properly, and it's not going to destroy anything or cause any harm to any animals around you. I like to keep it near a door, especially the main door, because that's the main focus of traffic, bringing things in and out. So that really just helps stop things from even entering your home, on top of any other protections you might have set up. Again, grounding and drawing energies from the earth. So as a practitioner, you really don't want to be using your own energies for anything, because that can be quite draining and can be very harmful. So what you want to do is be pulling energies in from other elements or through the earth itself. And actually, if you're brand new to witchcraft, I would definitely suggest looking up my video on grounding, centering, and drawing up energies from the earth. I'll link it up here. I'll also have a playlist down below for beginner witchcrafts, skills and things that you need to know to get started. So that would be a super important playlist to definitely check out. And if you're able to do grounding and centering outside, you don't have to, but if you're able to, it'd be a really excellent way to connect to the earth, because we spend most of our times indoors, especially because we live in cities, and now we're inside most of the time throughout our lives through work and daily life. We're not as easily able to connect to the earth. So if you're able to go out, touch your bare feet to the earth, and actually do some earthing while you are grounding and centering and drawing the energies, it's all the better. You can also make your own jewelry out of metal and charm and enchant your jewelry. So this is a really great way if you're really skilled with your hands and jewelry making. You can make your own jewelry and charm them and enchant them for different purposes. If you're wanting to know more ways that you can use witchcraft to manifest your desires into your life, then definitely click on this playlist here on the screen, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay wicked. Bye.